I have always dreamed big. Since I was a little kid, I could picture myself standing on a stage with people cheering, admiring what I had accomplished. But reality doesn't care about your dreams. Life has a way of making sure you remember the harshness of the world. I grew up in a neighborhood where dreams seemed too far out of reach, constantly overshadowed by distractions, financial struggles, and the pressure to just give up. But I couldn't quit. I knew that dreams weren't meant to come easy, and maybe that was the point. Every day, I kept going, trying to carve a path in a world that didn't make it easy. It was on one of those long days after school and work when I met Carla. Carla Thompson, my best friend, my rock. She believed in me when no one else did. "You've got this, Alex," she said, always knowing how to remind me of the fire inside me. Her words were a spark, but deep inside I knew my road would be anything but smooth. I wasn't naive. I knew that it would take everything I had to make it through. Life wasn't letting up, and then Mr. Johnson came into the picture. An older man, wise beyond his years, someone who'd walked through the same struggles I was facing. He'd made it, and now he wanted to give back. Sitting in his office, listening to him, it felt like something shifted inside me. He saw something in me. I didn't get it at first, but he said something that stuck with me. "You've got what it takes, but what's holding you back is fear. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown. You need to face it." I didn't want to admit it, but he was right. I was scared. Scared of not being enough. Scared of losing everything. But Mr. Johnson, with his calm wisdom, told me something I would never forget. True strength doesn't come from avoiding the struggle. It comes from facing it head-on. I left his office that day carrying his words like a shield. I still feared the future, but now I knew what I had to do. Embrace it. Take risks. That's how you move forward. Those words from Mr. Johnson, they didn't make everything easy. In fact, things got harder. It felt like the universe was testing me more obstacles, more setbacks. My grades slipped. Work piled up. There were days when it felt like I was barely keeping my head above water. But I remembered the lesson. I couldn't quit. I kept telling myself, "You have to embrace the challenge." It wasn't easy. I wanted to give up. I wanted to throw in the towel and just accept that maybe I wasn't cut out for this. Then, I thought of Carla, her unwavering belief in me, and Mr. Johnson's voice echoed in my head, "Face the fear." I took a deep breath, tackled my assignments one by one. It wasn't perfect, but I started seeing progress. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about moving forward, one step at a time. You know, there are moments when everything seems to stall. You push yourself, you work harder, but the results just don't come fast enough, and that's when doubt starts to creep in. I had been working so hard, trying to juggle everything, but nothing seemed to be changing. I felt like I was running in place, exhausted, but not moving forward. One evening, after yet another setback, I stood by the window, staring out at the city lights. "What's the point?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I've been working so hard and nothing is changing." That's when the knock came. It was Carla. She could see the weight in my eyes before I even said anything, and then she said something I'll never forget. "You're not quitting, Alex. This is just the test before the breakthrough. You've always been stronger than you think." I didn't believe her at first. The doubt still lingered. What if she was wrong? What if all my hard work wasn't enough? But her words stayed with me, and slowly I felt a shift. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was just the moment I had to push harder, not give in to the temptation to quit. "I'm not giving up," I told myself. "Not now, not ever." From that moment on, I knew I had to change the way I worked. I couldn't just keep grinding harder and harder. I needed to work smarter. So, I started waking up earlier, focusing on my weaknesses and setting clearer goals. But even then, there were sacrifices. I was pushing myself so hard that I felt like I was always on the edge of exhaustion. One afternoon, sitting with Mr. Johnson, I confessed my fears. I'm pushing myself, but it's like there's no end to it. How do I know when I've reached my limit? I asked, my voice tinged with frustration. He looked at me and smiled knowingly. Alex, there will always be obstacles. But what defines you is not how many times you fall, but how many times you get back up. Keep your eyes on the bigger picture. You're doing it for yourself, not for anyone else. Those words hit home. It wasn't about reaching the finish line immediately. It was about the journey. About learning, growing, and becoming stronger, not just in what I was achieving, but in who I was becoming. And then life threw a curveball. My mother got sick. And suddenly, everything I had been working for felt like it was slipping away. Balancing school, work, and now caregiving for her was more than I could handle. For the first time, I felt like I was going to break under the pressure. It was a night I'll never forget. Alone in my room, trying to juggle assignments while taking care of my mum, I felt overwhelmed. Tears welled up as I stared at the pile of work I couldn't even begin to touch. I felt like I was drowning, and I didn't know how to keep going. But the next day, Carla came over. She could sense something was wrong, and as soon as she sat down next to me, she said, Alex, talk to me. You don't have to carry this alone. I'm failing, Carla, I said, my voice cracking. Everything is falling apart, and I don't know how to fix it. She looked at me steady and calm. You're not failing. You're human. Life is tough, but that doesn't mean you're weak. You've come so far already. This is just another challenge, and you faced worse. You can do this. I wasn't sure I believed her, but somehow, in that moment, I felt a little bit stronger. Maybe this challenge wasn't the end. Maybe it was just another opportunity to grow, like everything else before it. Things weren't getting any easier. Just when I thought I was starting to find a balance, I was hit with another test. The local charity event I'd been working on for months was suddenly on the verge of falling apart. One of our key sponsors had pulled out at the last minute, and with the event just days away, I found myself scrambling to save it. I called Carla. Carla, I need your help. If this event falls apart, everything we've worked for will be wasted. She paused, and I could hear the hesitation in her voice. Alex, I want to help, but I can't do everything for you. You have to learn to handle these things on your own. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had always relied on her, but now it felt like I was facing this alone. The weight of it all was starting to sink in. This wasn't just about fixing the event. It was about proving to myself that I could handle Thing 7 when it felt like everything was falling apart. The event didn't go exactly as planned, but we salvaged what we could. It wasn't perfect, but I realized something important that day. Success wasn't about perfection. It was about adapting, learning, and moving forward no matter how tough things got. After the event, I thought I had things under control, but life had other plans. One morning, out of the blue, I got a scholarship opportunity to attend a prestigious college, the dream I had always hoped for. There was just one catch. I had to complete a grueling 48-hour competition to prove I was worthy. I'll be honest, I was terrified. What if I failed? What if I wasn't good enough? But then I thought back to everything I had been through, all the struggles, all the lessons learned. True strength, Mr. Johnson had said, is not about avoiding the struggle. It's about embracing it. So I signed up for the competition. As the days went on, my mind raced with doubt. The tests were designed to push me beyond my limits, testing everything I had learned about strength, resilience, and perseverance. And the closer I got to the day of the competition, the more I questioned if I was ready. The competition was everything I expected and more. It was brutal, physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausting. I had moments where I wanted to quit. Every part of my body screamed in protest. My mind was filled with doubts, and I could feel myself weakening. But then I thought of Carla. I thought of Mr. Johnson. I thought of my mom who had fought so hard for me. And in that moment, everything changed. I remembered their belief in me. I remembered that I wasn't just doing this for a scholarship. I was doing it for me, for the person I had become through all the challenges I had faced. I pushed through the pain. I didn't stop. And when I finally crossed that finish line, I didn't just feel relief. I felt something more powerful, a belief in myself that no obstacle could take away. It wasn't just about winning the competition. It was about proving to myself that I had the strength to face anything, no matter how impossible it seemed. After the competition, everything felt different. The scholarship was mine, a dream come true. But in that moment, I realized something even more important. It wasn't about the scholarship or the accolades. It was about the person I had become along the way. I sat on the porch that evening, the sun painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, reflecting on everything I had been through. I had learned that life wasn't just about achieving goals or reaching the finish line. It was about the journey, the lessons, the struggles, and most of all, the strength you find within yourself when you push through the hardest moments. Carla sat beside me, her smile warm and proud. "You did it, Alex," she said softly. "You became everything you always dreamed of, not because of the scholarship, but because you never stopped believing in yourself." I smiled back, my heart full of gratitude. I couldn't have done it without you. You were always there, pushing me when I didn't have the strength to push myself. "And you taught me something too," Carla replied. "You taught me that the most important thing is to never give up, no matter how hard life gets. We're all stronger than we think." I looked ahead, the future still uncertain, but filled with endless possibilities. I knew my journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges, more obstacles, but now I was ready for them. I had learned the most important lesson of all. Challenges aren't obstacles to fear, they're opportunities to grow. And with everything I had faced, I knew that I was ready for whatever came next.